2, 3. Hello everybody, welcome back to the September Makes channel. Today I am finding you with kind of a cozy vibe. It's not even 5 p.m. yet, but it is basically dark outside, so I thought, well, I'm just going to lit a candle. You can't see the candle, but you can see the kind of cozy light, and we're just going to have a little chat about the systems and the kind of rules I'm putting in place currently to be successful on my no-buy semester year. It is to be determined. So I tried different kinds of lighting, but I just ended up looking like a ghost. So I thought we would just have to deal with the kind of moody darkness that we have here. So I hope it's not too much of a problem for you. Alright, so for a little bit of background information, well, first of all, I am wearing my balloon cardigan. Here it is. I don't have a lot of space behind me, so I hope you were able to see it well. I always keep wanting to say bubble cardigan, but it's balloon cardigan by Petite Knit. It's a recently finished project that I've been wearing a lot. It's really appropriate for this these autumn top temperatures in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. So I didn't even introduce myself. For anybody who's new here, my name is Claire. I'm a psychology student in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, and I'm a knitter and generally quite creative person. So welcome. Yeah, for some background information, if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to look maybe before this video at my why I won't buy yarn anymore, yarn no buy. I think this is the title video that I posted, I think 2 videos ago, because there's a lot of the information that I'm going to elaborate on today. So I have my little notes. Yeah, so as you may know, I'm currently embarking on a 6-month at least no-buy challenge, we could call it that. So basically I won't allow myself to buy any new yarn for at least 6 months, preferably a year, but I can't make any promise, we will see. So in order to make that happen, I kind of have to elaborate some ground rules, some systems, because my end goal is really to not be overwhelmed about all the yarn that I have. For me, I have a really big stash, but for you it might be different. The kind of way we perceive a stash size, I guess, is really different depending on people. Also, a little disclaimer, I know this is very much a first world problem, complaining about having too much yarn, but for me it was really beginning to impact me in a way that I did not know anymore what I had, what I did not have. I was spending kind of a lot of money on yarn, nothing problematic really, but too much for me, and it was overwhelming me. But if you want more information and the whole kind of reflection on that, I will link you to the video that I told you about why I won't buy yarn anymore. Alright, so this is it for the information, like the ground informations, I think. Yeah, I think that is it. So, as I was saying, I needed to find a system to be able to really make my no yarn buy work, because if you don't have actual systems, your goals cannot be actionable and you cannot succeed generally. I think, at least for me, it's the case. I can have a lot of goals in mind, I can have a lot of big ideas, but when it comes down to it, really, I need some systems that I can put in place really every day, and for them to become really automatic, for me not having to think about them too much in order to succeed in my projects. So yeah, I'm going to tell you today about 4 kind of rules. One of them is split into 4 actually rules. So this is all going to make sense. So I'm going to start with the first thing that I did write down in my rules, which is the most basic one, I think. I really hope that the lighting is alright and that I'm not too out of focus. I'm really sorry about that. I do need to invest in some lighting, but it does cost a lot of money and, well, you know. Alright, so the first ground rule, the first system I'm putting in place is really simple. It's actually not to buy any more yarn. But as simple as it may sound, I actually had to think about that one. In the comments of the video that I was telling you about in the introduction, I had, by the way, some amazing comments, really thoughtful and thought out comments that induced a lot of reflection in me. These were really interesting and I had a lot of fun replying to all of them. So yeah, not buying any yarn may seem simple, but actually not really. Like, for example, a very basic example is that these days, so if you're not aware and if you're not embarking on the no yarn buy challenge with me, Drops is currently having a sale on, I think, wool, like 100% wool yarn. I'm not sure if it's really that. I didn't investigate too much because obviously, but they're having a 30% sale on that, and I really wanted to buy some Alaska wool because I really enjoyed knitting it on my terrazzo neck by Petite Knit, and I know that I'm going to have to buy it eventually because I really have a project in mind that I want to make. But I saw that sale and I was spending time with my boyfriend and I was like, oh wow, they're having a sale, and he went like, no, don't buy it. And yeah, I was not going to buy it. I had this very clear rule in mind, but it's not as easy as it sounds, really, especially if you know, like, the situation I told you about, that you're going to need to buy it eventually. But for me, breaking that promise I made to myself to not buy any more yarn for 6 months wouldn't have been just like buying the number of skeins that I would need for that specific project I have in mind, but it would mean just like ruining the whole challenge, the whole experiment, and kind of a slippery slope for me. So not buying any yarn. Somebody pointed that out in the comments, like, what if you run out of yarn and at the end of a project you were playing yarn chicken and you lost? For me, I actually hadn't thought of that. As weird as it sounds, but for me, if I'm really at the end of a project, there's no way of just having just enough yarn, just unraveling a bit of the sleeves and making them a bit shorter. I will allow myself to buy just the yarn that I need to finish the project, because I'm not about putting a project aside for 6 months to a year just in order to be able to buy that yarn. But the rule for that I set for myself is that if it must be really necessary, I must not have any other choice. For my terrazzo net, for example, I did run out of yarn, and I used a very similar yarn, not exactly the same. I used Nepal instead of Alaska by Drops, and it turned out really fine, and you can't really tell the difference. So I will force myself to be a bit creative, a bit maybe adventurous if I run out of yarn, but if I really don't have any other choice, I will buy the necessary yarn, but only from a local yarn store, so that I can support local businesses while I'm kind of buying the yarn that I said I would not buy. But I think this is just justified. So yeah, the second rule that I set for myself is that I can buy different kinds of notions, like needles, stitch markers, I don't know, things like that, but only if I break them and if I am replacing them. I don't think I will have to buy any needle or cable or 3D not stitch markers. I have a ton of them, but in case I really break a specific size needle that I need for a certain project, I will replace it. But that is kind of a rule that is not very necessary, as I don't think that would happen. The third rule, sorry for looking at my notes, I don't want to forget any important information. The third rule is that I must try before anything else to use the scrap yarn or the remains of some skeins that I have before kind of adventuring into other big projects. Obviously I still have my big projects that I'm working on, but I will always try to prioritize my leftover yarns. That means, for example, I have to knit, I don't have to, but I chose to knit a beanie for my grandpa's birthday at the beginning of December, and I started knitting it only to realize that I did not have nearly enough yarn and there was no alternative. So instead of unraveling it, I decided that I was going to knit in 3 strands of yarn, of totally different yarns, and I made the beanie bicolor. Yeah, I guess that's how you would call it. In order to just like not unravel it totally and knit it again with some other yarn that I might have. So that actually forced me to be quite creative and to try different things out. I had to unravel a lot of my different attempts, but all in all, now that I'm almost done with the beanie, I'm very happy with the result, and I'm glad that I pushed myself to kind of try different things. I know it might sound a little dramatic, the whole, oh, I pushed myself to try alternatives when we're just talking about knitting and about yarn, but for me it's really linkable to the whole creativity aspect. Well, this is becoming really dark. Okay, so I did turn the lights on. I'm not really a fan of this lighting, but you were not really able to see anything, I think, and I was a bit out of focus, so pardon me for that, and let's keep on going. So yeah, I was saying that it might sound a little bit overboard, my whole tangent about creativity and finding alternatives, but I think that is a skill that is applicable to all sorts of life things, I guess. Yeah, finding solutions, even if now we're just talking about knitting, about yarn swapping and stuff like that, well, substituting rather than swapping. I think that is a skill that I could benefit from learning in this area of my creative life to then use it in other more general areas of my life rather. We're now getting at the 4th rule, which is I am not going to get stuck on projects, meaning that I do have a mental list of all the projects that I want to knit, and sometimes I did associate a specific yarn to that specific project. And I've had this yarn for quite some time, not using it, preferring kind of more new and shiny options that I might just have bought, and now I'm not really feeling inspired by the project. I kind of look at it and I feel like, this is not what I want to knit anymore. So I decided that rather than kind of forcing myself to knit on it, I was going to keep in mind that knitting is a hobby and a passion for me, and just use the yarn for something else. If it's something that I've already started knitting on, I can just unravel the project and find another project that I might be more inspired to knit in the same yarn. So that is really it for this little rule. It's really about yarn substituting and being creative once again. So now I'm going to go through the 3 actual systems that I was telling you about in the intro. I think I swapped the rules. So we began with the ground rules, the 4 ground rules, and now I'm actually going to tell you about the systems, the things I physically did to help me in my pursuit of having no stash or a little stash. Right, so the first thing I did actually film some of it, some of the process for you that I'm going to include in this part of the video. I actually indexed all of my yarn stash on Notion. You can do it on Excel, you can do it on any other app. I did use Notion because that is what I use generally for every area of my life, basically. I really like it, but be free to experiment with any other app or software. Or some people in the comments wrote that they wrote it down in like a little notebook, all their yarn kinds. So you're going to see on the video, but I did a kind of big table with tags. That is a feature that you can do on Notion. So I created different tags for the different brands of wool that I have, of yarn I should say, different tags for the kind of thickness that I have. So I have a lace mohawk category, a fingering weight category, a sport, DK, worsted, Aran, bulky, super bulky, etc. And I documented every single skein that I have. I did write how much of it I have, and that is going to allow me to keep track of how many skeins that I have and to really motivate me. Alright, so now I'm all done. Still haven't, you can see the lighting change by the way. It's just that it's dark outside now. It's taken me more than 3 hours. So I am all done. This is all of it. It's quite crazy, really. There's so much here. But it's been quite a fun process, really, just like seeing all the yarn that I have and being very inspired with projects. So I think I'd talk about it in my next video, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about it while I'm just like freshly done. So yeah, here it is. I think this is going to be very useful for the future. So I'm going to grab my computer now and tell you the numbers because that's really what's interesting. So I have my little yarn stash page, and it is a big table. You're going to see on the video, a big table. I also referenced the name of the colors and if they have like actual, like the number of the color and if they have actual names. And I added a column with what project I thought I was going to knit with them. Alright, so at the 7th November of 2022 date, I counted that I had 236.4 skeins from 11 different brands, and that is 27 different types of wool, of yarn. So for example, in drops, if I have the kind of yarn like alpaca, I have Alaska, I have kid silk, that accounts for like 3 types of wool all in one brand. That might be a little bit too much detail, but with that system, I'm going to be able to really see my progress in knitting through my stash and stay motivated and really know whenever I finish a project, I can just tick the little the yarn that I wrote in my table and be able to see how much improvement I have made in a month, and I'm going to keep you updated with that. I think I'm going to make a sort of, maybe not monthly, but yeah, once every 2 months, kind of catch up with me on my yarn no buy, so that I can tell you a bit more about that and tell you what has helped me, what has worked for me, etc. So that is it for the notion indexing. I think whatever method you use for that, it is quite important to be able to index your yarn. I know that Ravelry has a feature for that. I did not do it on Ravelry because just I'm on Notion way more than on Ravelry, but whatever works for you will be fine. Second, well, really third system that I want to tell you about is that I put all of my yarn into shoe boxes. So here is parts of the yarn that I have put into boxes that I'm just not really planning on using anytime soon. So it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 some projects that I'm kind of sleeping project, 8 boxes, and there's still some more yarn that I'm going to use in the next few months, and this amount of yarn. There I don't think I'm really going to use anytime soon, but that is not in any boxes because it's way too big. It just comes in plates. So here is everything plus this little like a nook in my room that I used to store yarn. There's going to be more in there. I just need to put everything into place again. But yeah, quite a lot of it. I actually have 2 of them. Oops, no. I actually have 2 of them here. So put them in shoe boxes simply because I did not have better boxes than that, and I did not want or we have the space to invest in like airtight boxes to avoid moths. I don't have moths, and yeah, shoe boxes will do the trick for me now. So for example, in a shoe box, I did put all of my sock yarn, which is here. So I did classify, I didn't just put all the yarn into random boxes and not classify it and organize it, sorry. I tried to do it in a very logical way so I could just find them easier. The reasoning behind that, and that is something I did talk about in the video 2 episodes ago, I am getting very overwhelmed with my yarn. If I have it all out, it is just a constant little to-do list on my mind, and having it stored away really helps me concentrate on whatever I am knitting with at the moment. So I only have a little bit out, and that is actually my next point, which I'm going to tell you about, but it helps me keep my focus to only have a little bit of yarn out and the rest in boxes in my closet so that I don't see it. And a further advantage of that method, system, however you want to call it, is that I will be surprised when I get it out of the boxes and I'm looking for a certain type of yarn. I can find a yarn that I kind of forgot about because it was stored away, and really rediscover it and be re-inspired about the yarn and really feel the way I felt when I bought it in the first place, rather than seeing it just in my room all the time and feeling uninspired by it because it just becomes, I have become used to it and I find it kind of boring. So this was my sock yarn. In this box, they're not really good looking boxes or anything, but oh well. I do have all my mohair. So this is all my mohair that I have, or almost all of my mohair. I do have some mohair out, which I'm going to explain to you. The last system I'm going to tell you about in this video is my seasonal yarn stash, you could say. So basically what I've decided to do is at each start of a season, so right now we're in autumn, I would get certain skeins out to just like be able to have a look at it. I think it's great decoration. It really inspires me because there's not too much of it. There's really kind of I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of a capsule collection in clothes, but that is basically it for me. So for this autumn, I took some of my yarn out, only colors that really inspired me, that I was feeling drawn to for this season. So it's very autumnal tones, warm tones, some warm toned green, there's a bit of beige. I'm looking there because my my yarn is there. It's trouble focusing. Right. So I got that yarn out, and it is enough to inspire me, but not too much so that it doesn't overwhelm me. So the concept of seasonal yarn stash keeps things dynamic and entertaining and prevents me, I guess, from getting bored with my yarn stash, and I can still have yarn as a decoration, which is a plus for me. So I think that is all about what I wanted to tell you about today. Sorry again about the lighting, keep saying lightning. I guess it's easier to say with my French background. Well, French is my mother tongue. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram. I try to be a little bit, well, I try to be active there. And yeah, that is it. So I hope you liked the video, and tell me about any tips that you might have, any part of your journey that you're willing to share with others about yarn buying, organizing, and if you're also embarking on a yarn no buy with me. Right, so thank you so much, and have a great evening, night, or day if you're watching me in the morning. Bye.